What would you do if you have a wife that you deeply love and she's pregnant with two wonderful twins, and then somehow she loses one of these twins and then the other baby is born premature? What would you do? Well, this is just one unfortunate event that Gery Woodland had to go through before becoming a champion. And so today we'll be talking about Gery's journey through heartbreak to USA Open champion. We gotta go back in time, in 2010, 10 years ago, when Gery's dad Woodland, after suffering a heart attack and after having 3 bypasses, he passed away. Yes, he died, or that's what doctors thought. Now, the triple bypass surgery that Dan had to go through was thought by doctors to be a success, but 2 days later, Dan suddenly lapsed into cardiac arrest. Now, what's scary about all of this is that it happened in front of the eyes of Linda, the wife. So she screamed for doctors and nurses to come. So everybody came and took Dan into the surgery room. Now, when the doctors came back, they told Linda that Dan had been gone 3 or even 4 minutes before they brought him back to life. Now, after going through that painful situation with his dad, 2 years ago, Gery and his wife, Gabby, were expecting 2 beautiful twins, but unfortunately, they lost one of their twin babies. And the other baby was born 10 weeks premature. And the baby couldn't leave the hospital for 40 days. He had to stay at the hospital for 40 days. Just think about that. Now, just think about it for 1 second. It was their first child. So just think about having a wife that's pregnant and then losing one of your children as such a traumatic experience. However, somehow Gery was able to push through. All of these terrible situations allowed Gery to grow, not only as a person but as a player. And in my personal opinion, it's what allowed Gery to become one of the toughest golfers alive. Because we're talking about becoming mentally tough, and that's what Gery was able to achieve. Now, if we keep going back in time, Gery was a basketball star in high school. And from basketball, he learned determination. He learned to never give up. Indeed, while playing basketball in high school, he got severely injured. And the doctor told Gery that he couldn't play for several weeks. And guess what? Guess what Gery told the doctor? He didn't care about what the doctor said. The following Friday, Gery was back on the court and he was playing basketball. And he also scored some really good points. Now, Gery later on decided to move away from basketball and decided to focus on golf. He started to play in a golf team in Kansas, and then he dedicated his life to becoming a pro. Now, there are many interesting stories about Gery playing golf at a young age, but there is one specific story that really caught my attention. You see, his mother used to work in the banking industry, and she used to buy buckets and buckets of balls so that Gery could play golf, so that Gery could practice. But the only problem was that his hands were too small and he couldn't find gloves for his hands. And so his hands would bleed so much, but he still wanted to keep hitting balls. Now, as time passed, Gery became a PGA Tour success. However, many people would argue that he kept struggling to find a bridge to greatness. However, in the 2019 USA Open, in the final round, he proved everybody wrong. You see, not only he held off players like Koepka, a four-time major winner, but he also finished with a final score of, hear me out, of 13 under, one stroke better than Tiger Woods. Now, when you watch the game, you get a feeling that Gery has somehow learned how to control his nerves, his adrenaline. Now, you get a feeling that Gery not only has learned to control the game, but he has also learned to control his mind, which is the main key to become a champion. And let me tell you, it worked. And Gery proved to the world that he is a champion. And he is one of the toughest golfers alive. And I will argue that Gery Woodland is the toughest golfer alive.